So here we are today. I don't see much microphone dancing around. Hello? 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 Let's go see if we've got anybody. Virtual camera. We'll figure this out eventually. Hello? 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 Can anybody hear me? Hello? 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 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It says I'm live. Now we're waiting for, I guess, YouTube to wake up. We'll see about that. I can't really see anything going on right now. I don't know if I have my, ay Dios mío, with this audio thing. It's so annoying. So I have a Shure microphone. It's a very expensive microphone. I'm not entirely sure why I can't hear my microphone, but yeah, this is getting pretty irritating. So, yes, my microphone is on. Let me see if hold on a second. Let me see if I can get some preferences up on my Mac and see if I can figure out if I need to output. No, I want my Shure. Let's do this one. 1, 2, 1, 2. Can you hear me, Nona Grace? Nona Grace, can you hear me now? Hi, can you hear me? I mean, like right this very minute, can you hear me? Because anything can go wrong at this point. Hello, Nona Grace. Don't change anything. You're good. Okay. Okay. So, yeah. So I'm going to press, I'm just going to close the itty bitty window. So if you lose my voice, let me know. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Did you lose my voice in any way, Nona Grace? Can you still hear me? You're making me fret. Answer me, please. Nona Grace, can you hear me? So sorry, you were 20 minutes on the silent one. Still can hear you. Oh, thank God. Hi. I'm so glad you're officially here when I'm live. That's amazing. I know. I'm so sorry about that. This open sourcing live stream software is quite complicated for my little MS mind. So I'm just figured if I have to go about trying to figure out how to best get my channel set up to go live, it's better to just do it with people right now. So I'm so glad you're here. That's awesome. Hi. So I wanted to come on. Let me just start again. And I want to thank Nona Grace for being here, one of my faithful subscribers, as usual, from Western New York. Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. So Nona Grace, you're an actual really great soundboard. So let me explain why to everyone out there why I want to do more live content on my YouTube platform. I have 970 subscribers, and God gave me those subscribers and this platform for a reason. And it's not simply to be having fun or sharing things like these TikTok videos, 30 seconds of people being silly. I believe that social media is meant for a deeper purpose. And I think that we need to all be taking this opportunity a lot more seriously, especially since all the people who are shut in, and whether it be for age or illness or the plague. So I listen to an awful lot of media outlets. I, like so many people, don't really trust the legacy media channels that we used to think were telling us the truth. Not since the election of 2020. Everything has just gone crazy. You still have me okay, Nona Grace? I just need to check in so to make sure that I haven't lost you. I know that we're on 20 seconds delay, so I'll wait a second. I just don't want to, if there's a problem where you can't hear me anymore, I really want to know about it so I can fix it and then start again so that people don't miss this. Yes, it's amazing. We don't get this opportunity very much. So now we will. So now what let me put into a, so what I want to do is a lot of I sent you an email. It has my phone number in it. Yay! Oh, I'll send you mine right away. Oh, we do need to be more connected. People who are like-minded in this country need to be more connected. We're getting censored so much now, and it's really can be for most quite frightening. And I still think, oh great. Nona Grace just telling me I'm still okay. We as a we're not necessarily an exceptional people. We just have a much more moral based existence. It doesn't mean that we know every single Bible verse and address in the Bible where they're located. And it doesn't necessarily, we're not quantified by how many good works or non good works we do. We are just a much more loving group of people. We don't want to hear cuss words all the time. My granddaughter and my grandchildren could be in my home at any time when I'm watching my YouTube channel. So I just avoid listening to channels that use words that I wouldn't want my granddaughter to use. And that's really it. I know in today's day and age that language that use expletives, curse words, has become an actual dialect like French. It's just become something that people use in their everyday communication. Right. And it's just I avoid them. I just avoid them. There's a lot of things that people miss about what they take into their mind. And I'll try not to be exclusively slinging the Christian jargon a lot. It is 100% who I am as a born again Christian. But I think that there's too many divides already in our society. So I don't want to necessarily exclusively like pump myself up as a born again Christian. I want to act and live as a born again Christian. And that means to love everyone, whether they are saved, meaning born again and no longer living a life honoring the devil, or whether they are living in a life without God completely and just pretty much winging it in this world. And that is frightening to me because I used to be that person. So here's something that we can talk about to just try to hone in on what I'm trying to get at. When we take content that is, let's say, sexually explicit or profane language or cuss words, or we take in content like movies or music or even art that's considered pornography, or a music songs full of lyrics where cuss words or objectionable, right, no judgment, exactly. I don't judge. That's God's job to judge you. I don't judge you. But there is, by the way, just for the record, there is a judgment that can fall on you if you watch my channel. And that's not me, and it's not deliberate. That's not me judging you. That's about God convicting you inside your conscience. So if you feel as if my content has made you uneasy, or if you feel a sense of shame about the way maybe you're living, that's not directly because I've said anything on purpose to hurt you. That's simply your own soul reminding you that you may be in some sort of jeopardy because of your own behavior. That's called conviction. Every human being, saved or unsaved, has a conscience, and that conscience is given to us so that we can know whether we've gone too far one way or too far the other. So no judgment at all. I was saying I listened to a whole lot of independent news media, partly because, and mostly because, the legacy media channels, when I say that, I mean CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, all of these channels we grew up with, we trusted them to tell us news. Now, what is news? News is reporting about matters or situations going on around the world, whether it be close to us or far away, and then them just telling us what has been happening around the world or in our own hometown. That is what we grew up with. That was the news of my childhood. However, we in the last decade or so have noticed that it's become much less about the news. Right, independent channels. Right, exactly. I and so many others have found that the word news doesn't necessarily honestly depict what we're seeing today. It's really more about opinions or who signs your paychecks. I know that one of the independent news reporters I listen to is Tim Pool. He's excellent at what he does. I subscribe to all of his channels. I wish him nothing but success. However, his thinking is just a little bit more liberal minded than myself and maybe some others. And so my thought is that I'd really like to represent a whole nother group of people, like myself, like Nona Grace, like Patera at the Appalachia Homestead. I have a lot of homesteading and farming channels that subscribe to me and I to them. I also subscribe to other countries' channels, like the Philistines. Am I all about the Bible or what? The Philippines, Indonesia. I've got a lot of channels that I watch. Indonesia, India. I watch a lot of India, the country of India, their news. Yes, Patera's amazing. She's so sweet. But she thinks more like us, much more conservative, much more level-headed. And when I say conservative, that doesn't mean that we wear little bonnets and little tea, doilies over our heads. That's not who we are. We just have a much more down-to-earth way of thinking. We don't want to hurt people. We want to live peacefully with our families. And that usually means that we really don't need to be about what other people are doing. When I was growing up, it was really more important to mind your own business than it was to find out all the latest trends. And I think that in a way, a lot of the depression that's going on with our younger people today is because they have to take in so many different people's lives that they get depressed unneededly. Is that a word? It's not necessary for us to worry about people that we'll never see so much. But because of social media, we get so involved with their own lives. I think it's taken a toll on the mental health of our world. And so by taking on this opportunity to have a platform on YouTube and represent a different genre of people would be I think beneficial. There are many people who believe some political things like-minded with me. And for that, that is also a reason why I don't trust the legacy channels and the what they call the mainstream media. Okay, Nona Gray says, yes, we have to march to our own beat and not be a sheep and think we have to do what everyone else is doing. That's amazingly right. Isn't it so sad that something so simple that used to be known to people in our generations now, for some reason, is a breakthrough idea? That's ridiculous. Yes, of course, we all are supposed to be independent. Gulliver, that's my foster bird you're hearing. Sheesh. When our country was founded, and it was founded whether you like to hear it or not. It was founded primarily so that they could practice whatever religion they wanted to and were not forced to practice the same religion as the England or the mother country or the mother world or mother whatever it's called. They came to America to practice the way they want to. And so they did, and they came, and here we are. Now, what happened further on the road? We all became ourselves. We still are unique. Oh, I'm glad you don't mind my parakeet. Stinker winker. Gulliver was a little parakeet in the bush in what year? 20. And then he went to go live with my neighbor, Angie and Jeff. And then Angie and Jeff gave him to me. So now he is our little foster baby. Yes. Hi, Gulliver. He's talking to me. Okay. So getting to be unique in our world is a big part of our country. This country was based on unique people with unique ideas. And I think that that's been frowned upon recently. And I think we need to get it back. And so for the group of people that I represent the people who do not just do things because the mainstream society says they should. We have our own minds, we have our own ideas, we have our own free will, and we believe that we have something to bring to society that is missing of late. Sorry, coffee break. Jenny from Facebook made me this. Isn't it beautiful? I ordered it from her. She made it. It's Tracy. It's Hello Kitty, of course, because she is my spirit cat. Not actual spirit cat. You get what I'm saying. Anyway, so with that being understood, that is my goal. My goal is to be representing what used to be the majority of America. People used to love their country, and I so still do. I am so blessed to have been born. I think I'm what they call a second generation American. And I am blessed that God chose me to be born in this country because I could have been born anywhere else. The racial divide in our country is heinous. And it seems to me that the media has done nothing but exasperate it. And instead of seeing unrest appearing in our country, instead of throwing sand on a fire, they're throwing fuel, gasoline on it to see how many of us can be destroyed by each other, and it saves them the trouble. So when we have an opportunity with social media, I just think we should take it more seriously, and that's what I really would like to do. I want to take it more seriously. A first generation American. Where are your parents from? No, Grace. My grandparents, let's see. That's a whole nother story about racial bias and skin color and everything like that. Oh my gosh. That would be a whole new video. But I would say one thing for sure is I would say, if you looked at me, can you tell what my nationality is or nationalities are? Could you tell by what I look like? What am I to you? See, you can't judge by someone's appearance where their background is. Okay. when my dad came to this country, he had to learn to not sound like an Italian. They went through their own prejudice when they got here, I know. He said that the blacks were treated better than he was. You know what? I heard that too. Italians and Irish. Oh, the Irish. The Irish were terribly, terribly butchered so many years when they first came over here. And I would imagine that actually Black Americans were here in so many ways before even the Italians in some respects, especially in the big surge of migration from Europe. Was that the 30s or the 20s? I would imagine. My grandfather, my mother's parents were both from Germany, and they came over to this country and they escaped World War II in Germany. My husband's family is Irish. Wow. So you are actually a pretty beaten down group of people, both your mother and your father. So they both knew what persecution was based on their ethnic background. So you see, there's so much emphasis on you know ethnic backgrounds other than you know other backgrounds without being overly animated about it. Black Americans are seem to be exploited, in my opinion, if I can say, and it's it's um they're being used, and no one seems to make their lives any better. In fact, I remember when Barack Obama was a representative in Illinois, and I think he was in the Congress of Illinois. And I remember seeing him, and he was a young man. He was just starting out in the Congress, representing Illinois. And I remember looking at him, and he just flashed up on the news, probably CNN. And I saw that man's face, and I saw him do something on the floor, and I thought that's going to be the first black president. I saw it. That's him. And sure enough, that was him. And I got to tell you, I was excited. I was filled with hope for our country, filled with excitement. I know we all want to be that peaceful Star Wars next generation group of people where no one will be judged simply by their appearance or where they've come from. But I think that's something that we all want. I think we all crave that peace that we see so many times on the big screen or on the little screen. And I was hoping that that would be the case with that individual. And although because of my religious convictions on abortion, I could not vote for Barack Obama, although I do not consider myself any kind of political party. Uh, I consider myself a Christian. I am in God's party. And when God's party gets a box on the voting paper, you can bet that when it happens, I will check that box. But until that time, I vote according to my conscience and the Word of God. So when Barack Obama got into the presidency, I was thrilled. I thought, this is it. This is it. And I rejoiced and I worshiped God and I said, Lord, could this be where our ways of life are combined so closely together that they can no longer be separated? That would be amazing. I would love that so much for our world. There's just too much energy that goes on in dividing us from each other, no us, locally, on our very streets, in our schools. But that didn't go that way, and I'm not sure if he actually knew. I think when he came into the presidency, I think that he genuinely wanted to go in that direction. However, when he got into the presidency, something changed, and I think it might have something to do who signed his checks. My husband's birthday is January 22nd. Thank goodness he was born. Amen. Thank goodness indeed. That's right. Happy birthday, Jim. His birthday was a few days ago, and we're grateful for him. The Irish were my gosh. The Irish were, well, we can watch movies about the Irish history and the Potato War, wasn't it the Potato War? There was awful, awful, awful prejudice concerning those people. And then you want to talk about people where I come from. Okay, getting back to the part where people can look at people and say, well, you're white or you're black or brown. Okay, so that's what we've whittled us down as a society in the entire planet as either white, black, or a shade of brown. That's not sufficient at all. And let me explain. If you were to look at me, who would you say I represent? Any ideas? Well, I'll tell you who I represent, and I bet you won't really understand what it is that I am. And I'm actually Arabian. I have a pretty good chunk of myself is starting out. My one side with only one is they wouldn't even buy fish if it was caught by the Irish fishermen. See that? That's awful. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that. That makes me so sad. When even I hear about it, it's not happening maybe right now, but even then it happened, and that's just such an atrocity. Gosh, I don't want to see our country go back there, and we're going back there, Nona Grace. We're going back right now. We're at a place of hate in our world that I have never seen in my lifetime, and I was born in the 70s and 60s when it was the riots in New Jersey over race baiting and stuff. Oh, it's so disheartening to see our world, not just our country, but our world be divided by these puppet masters that are all about money and influence. So let me backtrack. What would you guess my racial background is? On my mother and my father, on my mother's side, my mother and my grandfather. Let me see. There were so many unfair things I was born into in the 50s. Yeah, you're right. You sure were. And doesn't it seem like we're going backwards? It just seems like we're going backwards. So I feel like I guess maybe I feel like I'm obligated to stand up and take a stand against letting the puppet masters take us back in time. I feel like we're in the 80s again. We've got gas prices that are through the roof. We've got inflation up the wazoo. And we're about to go to war with what, Russia? I mean, have we gone back in time right now? This is ridiculous. Okay, back to racial identity and guessing what my racial background is. I'll try to move forward on this, and I'll try not to get distracted any longer. But with multiple sclerosis, it's pretty easy to get distracted. So, my mother's side of the family is exclusively Bavarian, German and Bavarian. And another interesting part that I got from my German side. So we know that I've got German, specifically Bavaria. Bavaria is a country, and that's where my grandfather was from, Bavaria. Although they stopped calling it exclusively Bavaria when it became West Germany and East Germany. But I'm actually Bavarian, which I find really inspiring. I really love to take hold of that. So my grandfather on my mother's side was Bavarian or West German, and my grandmother on my mother's side are you ready for this? Ashkenazi Jew. I'm 13% Ashkenazi Jew. So that's huge. That's a big bunch of culture there. I've got Bavarian and I've got Ashkenazi Jew. So right there, it's in itself, half of me is so full of culture and value. I get very excited about that. I have the privilege of representing those people. But I bet you wouldn't necessarily pick that out of my gene pool, would you? That I have Jewish in me, but I do. Now on my father's side, gets a little even more interesting. Right, no clue, right? My mother and father were both Sicilian. Actually, my kids have Sicilian in them. Their fathers father is with his mother is from Sicily. So they're Sicilian also. Yeah, it's the truth. So now let's go to my father's side. So now I'm on one side. Again, take a look. Appearances, appearances, appearances. Blue eyes, by the way. My father's side. On my father's side, his father, my grandpa John Addis, was Lebanese. That's Arab, folks. I'm an Arab. I'm like 25% Arab. That's huge. And my grandmother from my father's side was Scottish. So I think with some Irish, Scottish Irish. But I guess, and Nona Grace, you could fill me in on this one. I believe that, and I've spoken to one of my subscribers before, Joe, was it Serrano, where he also is Irish, and he said that if you're Scottish or Irish, you have to be one or the other, which is pretty funny since they're so close together. But I actually am Scottish and Irish on my paternal grandmother's side, and Lebanese on my father's paternal side. So right there, my own racial background hits so many of the hot spots of people that have been discriminated against and treated so poorly. And yet in today's media, if someone were to just ask me in front of a camera and say, so what does it feel like to be a white person? I can honestly say I wouldn't know, but you wouldn't know that by my appearance. We're so much more complicated. We're so much more involved than such a surface level characteristic, I guess is what I'm saying. It's just not enough. Let's see. Jim is Irish and French and Pennsylvania Dutch. Huh. Very interesting. See, we're not supposed to be all the same. And so many people in today just, I don't know what's going on. We just all need to love each other. And that's why we're supposed to have one God and one creator so that we can have unity together. But even that got hazy and but we can still believe in different things and still love each other. There's no reason why Arabs can't love Irish people and French people can't love people from the Samoa and Puerto Rican people. There's no reason Puerto Rican people can't love Russian people. We just need to realize that we are just people and we all bleed red. But that's what it goes on to say. We all are a people, a human race, you know? And I guess that's what I want to bring to my channel. Hello. Oh, we got somebody else here. Mashik? Kushak? Hello. I'm glad you're here. You were here for a second. I'm not sure if you're still here, but welcome to the channel. We're just having I guess this is almost like a channel chit chat, we'll call it, about what I want to do and how I want to take my opportunity here on YouTube in what direction. And I want to use my platform and my opportunity to help people. Really, that's where it comes down to. I have 7 children. My husband and I meshed our families together, and combined we have 7 children. And our oldest child is Luke, and Luke wanted me for the longest time to talk about how God has given me spiritual gifts and wisdom and dreams, showing me things. and how God has given me insight into the future. And Luke has always been very interested in that sort of thing. Now, Luke is not a young man, he's in his mid 30s, but he said it to me yesterday when he came for a visit. He goes, "You really need to start making videos about your spiritual gifts and the dreams that God has given you." And that being a big part of my life, and my channel's name being changed to represent exactly who I am, which is a born again Christian. I listened to him yesterday and I was like, "You're so right. That is who I am. And God has given me a great deal of treasure, spiritual treasure that others can find useful in their own lives." So I want to emphasize that also. So I just want to help people, you know. My oldest child is 40 and my youngest is 31. Well, there you go, girl. So we've got, our oldest is about 35 or 36. Then I have, listen to these ages. Oh my goodness. It really makes you want to go to the bathroom and get some Pond's cold cream and start really adding it to those, you know, those places. So our oldest, I think, is 36. And then our next one is 35. And our next one is 33. And our next one is 31. And our next one is 30. And then our next one is 24. No, Dylan's in there. Dylan is 30 or 29, and then 24. So we've got quite the quill full of little people that we've spawned in our life together. That's for sure. When it comes to having children, that's a very complicated conversation to have, because I'm not entirely sure what advice I'd give to young people today about having children. It's so much more important for them to choose a proper wife or husband. That I think that's really should be discussed far more than how many children they want, because holy Toledo, is that a dicey situation. There's just now some, when you see this you might be watching the replay. Well, let me tell you, I've got experience when it comes to marriage. I've got good experiences and bad experiences when it comes to marriage. And I've had 3 marriages, so I consider myself a bit of an expert on both sides. So I've got a few things to say about a lot of stuff. I've had a lot of experience in my life. My life has been extremely full. It has been overflowing with experience, and that's another reason why I want to help people. God helped me understand a long time ago that our life and everything we've experienced as individuals is actually for the reason of helping other people in the future who might be going through the same perilous situation that we've survived. So everything that we've experienced in our lives gets applied to what I can only say would be a spiritual toolbox. You've only been married once, but got married at 28. Well, maybe there's something to that, because I got married 3 times and my first marriage was at 16. So could have done that better. I think maybe waiting might be a better idea than I thought. I'm taking that advice to heart. Of course, I won't get to do it again, because I never want to do it again. I'm going to keep my husband that I have now, and we're just going to keep him healthy and move forward. So what I was saying is, every single experience that we go through in our lives actually equips us to be able to be useful in other people's lives who may be going through the same terrible situation that we got through. So these experiences that so many people these days are being destroyed from, or being just completely beaten down by, we need to help them. We need to lift them up, and we need to help strengthen them in our prayers. No, you don't need to know the person to pray for a person. You can pray in the direction of a sorrow you may intimately know about. You can pray for people who are struggling with spouses who are committing adultery. And I believe that our prayers are in some respects, into a pool of some sort of a spiritual pool of prayer. And it's freely available to anyone. All they have to do is ask, and then they can leach from that spiritual pool of prayer. So we don't need to know people or touch people even to pray for them. We just need to intend on helping them with what you know and what God has brought you through. And in that regard, we can be doing a better job as Christians helping these people who are suffering. I believe that. So my spiritual toolbox is packed. And when I say packed, I mean packed. It's hard to find a person in this day and age that I cannot, what's the word when you feel like you can sympathize with? I guess that's it. The prayers are like raindrops. They fall once the ones that need them. They fall onto the ones that need them. That's excellent. I love that. That's beautifully beautifully described. Yes, 100%. So when we pray, we can pray into that cloud, like that, with full of tears, like raindrops, or in the cup that sits behind the Lord, us on the right side of the Lord, at His throne. It says that the tears of the saints are collected, and He doesn't lose any of them. He has them all. And that only helps the people who are praying also, because when we pray, the Bible teaches us that when we pray, we could be praying for something totally different, but the Holy Spirit comes down and communes with us as we pray, and He starts working in us and putting together the Jenga nonsense in order so that we can pray according to God's will. So prayer helps everyone. So definitely need to work on our prayer life, that's for sure. Oh, what else is there to discuss about my channel? I have a lot of experiences that I'll be speaking about. Experiences that some people, very good people, have absolutely no idea about. I am not, as I said, a political person, but I will speak of politics when evil dances with politics, which seems to be more so now than ever before. So you'll be hearing about some politics on my channel. My mom would offer up all that she did that day up in prayers. That's beautiful. 100%. You know, I pray, and this is just me, I pray on my knees. Now, I have bad knees. I have arthritis bad in one of my knees. And I pray on my knees every morning and every night. And I do that because I tremble at the feet of God every single day. Now, some people might say, but Tracy, you're a born again Christian, you're free, you're saved. And see, that's why I don't believe in God, because He wants us to all be afraid of Him. And that's not, no, wrong direction. I tremble at the feet of God because I know that I can either do a miraculous work for Him in this life, or I could lead people astray. I could lead people in a way further away from God. And that alone makes me tremble. I speak very freely. I am a very outspoken person. So I ask God every morning and every night as I tremble before His throne, if I say anything at all that I should not have said, please take it from their minds, because I never want to speak against anything that God's will has told me to do. I take that very, very seriously. I want to remain in God's will. And God's will is another thing that can either take you a lifetime to find, or you can find it when you're very young. But when you find it, you know it, and you never want to leave. And I found it, and I never want to leave. And I only want to lead people closer to God. And that's not exclusively to my children. So prayers are very important, as we were saying. And I do want to be using my platform more responsibly in that way. And I also want to talk about things like corruption. And there's going to be a lot of psychology on my channel too, because I don't understand how so many people can see the same event in front of their eyes and understand it in a completely different way. That's a psychosis that I'd like to study more deeply. And it's been going on in our society since, I guess, 2000. I guess it was about 2004 where stuff started to go wappa wowie. Like I think it was George Bush Jr. I think that's when my husband and I, in our lives, whether we were together or not at that time, we weren't, but we started to see a breakdown in our society, the psychology of our society started to change drastically. And it was quite frightening, actually, because we would watch the same thing roll out in the news, and the TVs would reach all these people, all of us, and some people would see the event as something completely different as another group of people. There's got to be something in the book of psychological medicine disorders about that, because that's bizarre. And it's just as clear to other people as it is to us that it means something completely different. And I don't understand how that could be possible. Unless you look into the Bible and you read about it. And yes, the Bible does talk about it. The weeds and the wheat. Yes, folks, the goats and the sheep. The Bible talks about what's happening today. It's a living, breathing vessel, doorway, phone line, communication to God and us. That's what the Bible is. And it speaks of this division. And this division comes as a way of sorting us out to see who will be those who will be brought into the kingdom of heaven when they die, and those who will be perishing in hell when they die. See how important this is? You see how crucial this is? Now, I'm 51 years old, and I need to do something about that. I need to speak about this. It's not something that people are comfortable necessarily speaking about, lightheartedly in passing or casual circumstances. So I feel very strongly that I need to use this opportunity to be useful, to sharing with people that something's going on and we need to talk about it. You need to talk to someone who's trusted, and someone who you can be honest with. Doesn't necessarily have to be me, but you definitely have to find someone. I have been listening to Kathleen from My Alhambra Life. Alabama Life. I'm sorry, I don't read well. Alabama Life. And she is reading the Bible to us in 365 days. Ah, that's awesome. That's really great. We actually, for I think, my husband and I are retired pastors from a Church of God, and we had everyone in our church reading the daily Bible, and it would put together Psalms and Proverbs and the New Testament and Old Testament all in one daily selection, and we would read the Bible through in a year. So my husband and I have read the Bible through, well, just in churches, on the organized front of reading it through. Probably we were at our church for 11 years, so probably about as a uniform corporate practice, we read the Bible through at least for 5 years straight. And on a personal note, we've both read through the Bible and continue to read through the Bible every day. So I guess I don't count how many times I've read the Bible through, but those programs have a lot of merit, and they're really wonderful. And more people, I think, can benefit from doing that. It's all about that. Like I said before, it's about intent. It's about what's our intent as human beings. Is our intent to be a good person, a person that follows after God, Because if you follow after God, He's already in front of your face. And you just need to quiet the world and be still so you can hear His quiet voice, because it is quiet, but boy, can it get loud too. I have never read the Bible, but have learned a lot from the readings. Wonderful, Nona Grace. Great. Oh, you can. And you can learn so much. And it's startling how I found when I first started reading the Bible, which was, let's see, I first got saved when my son was, I guess, a year old. So 1999. And I was amazed about how many things in everyday life today are actually or have gone on in the Bible. Now you can sure go way back into the Old Testament and find some things that maybe are not really applicable to today, but if you um, are open to understanding things that you may not understand previously, you can learn a million things that will help you with today's life from just Old Testament stories, let alone real world behavioral results of our actions and such like that. So, hey, good for you. That's wonderful. So, I guess I was about 29 when I got saved. So, 1999, I got saved. So, again, so what does it mean to be saved? It means that let me put it into a little box here. Over here. Let me tell you something about myself. Let's start there. This is better. Let me tell you about myself before I came to love, worship, and serve Jesus and Jesus alone. I was one of the best liars. I could lie myself out of a jail cell if I wanted to. Was I ever arrested? No. Did I ever deserve to be arrested? Yes. I was a bully in some regards, but not a bully. Let's just say when someone would hurt me when I was a kid, I would, well, squash them mightily, quickly, effectively. Oh, good. I'm so glad. That means a lot to me. I was I was a whore. I I slept with men out of wedlock. I cheated. That would make me an adulteress on my first husband. Doesn't matter if he cheated on me. I'm talking about me. Um, I had two pregnancies that when I was 15 or 14 when I was 15, and I had them aborted, and that makes me a murderer. I took the lives of my children and I threw them away because I was too young and because it wasn't convenient and I was scared. That's no way. That's no reason to do that. Oh, I was a thief. Doesn't matter if we were poor. It doesn't matter. I was a thief and I never got caught. But I stole a lot and I was very good at it. I was a very effective sinner. I got sucked into that life where you start to wonder if you could somehow be one of Satan's rulers or something, or, like one of his henchmen or something. And almost the world gives you this idea that you could be like some sort of renowned doing evil works. And I believe that that's the devil encouraging you in your evil way. I did a lot. I'm an artist. Some of you might know me as a crafter. But I was actually a forager. I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time, consciously, but it was like my first husband and I were married and we had so little money and our cars would never pass emissions, and we lived in New Jersey. So I know that Nona Grace knows something about the East Coast and how much they like to get in our pockets when it comes to regulations and emissions. Well, none of our cars were ever good enough. I think we mainly bought cars that were like $500 just to go, and we drove them until they died, and we just paid another $500, and on and on and on. And we would get these temporary license plates. This is before anything was, we had the internet. You can't get away with things like this now. But I was such a good artist then. I could make copies of the temporary paper license plate that we'd have to hang at the back of the car. And I just kept adjusting the date so that we'd never have to register our car or get it inspected again. And it wasn't until just this past year that I realized that I was actually a counterfeit artist. And my jaw, if it was physically able to fall off my head onto the floor, was just like, I'm a felon. I did a crime that could be a felony back when I was like 15 years old. So when I say, did I deserve to be in jail? 100%. 100%. So now, and that's only naming a few. And there's many more sins that I could tell you about that I was guilty of. And I will share them with you in the future. In fact, you can ask me if I've ever done this. Oh, I've done drugs. Of course, I've done drugs. Yeah. I've done many drugs, actually. I've done meth, I've done LSD, I've done marijuana, and I've never done a cocaine. You know, I've done whippets and stuff like that. I don't know what they technically call that stuff. But I've never done cocaine, and I never did anything intravenous. I don't like needles. And that's where my first son came in. And if you read, there's a part in the Bible you can look up and you can see that it says that it's by childbearing that a woman will be saved. And in my respect, that was true, because when I got pregnant with my son Timothy, I did no more drugs when he was in my tummy. I did smoke cigarettes, which isn't good. But I guess what I'm saying is that when he came into my life, when he was born, that changed my future completely. Yeah, see how different we could be? And then together, we're pretty close now. You wouldn't be friends with me then. I mean, I was never mean. You know, I wasn't violent or mean or a thug. It's just that I had plenty to repent of. Repentance is being sorry for what you've done and never doing it again. And that's also something that's lost in this society, even in our churches. Repentance is about being absolutely gut wrenched that you had behaved in such an unholy, unkind, disgusting way, and turning from those ways and begging God for forgiveness for those sins and promising Him that you will never, ever go back to that lifestyle again. And then not going back. And then putting Him first in your life forever. That's what it means to be born again. And the really interesting part about being born again is there's actually physical changes in your body when you're born again. And at least in mine. And some of those they're cute ones. You wouldn't have been friends with me. I was too much country. Actually, I actually loved people who were country back then. I was drawn to them, even though I'm a city girl. I always admired that freedom and I admired the country life. It was kind of like the Green Acres TV show. I always watched that show. I really admired that they went out and bought a farm. I really loved that. It just wasn't the life that I was born into. But now, look at me now. Now I've got my farm and I've got my animals. So, true, we probably wouldn't cross paths, but now we cross paths because I'm born again. So, with that being said, some of the physical changes in my life are pretty visible. I I am born in New Jersey. I was born in Bergen County, New Jersey. And I have no East Coast accent, unless, of course, I'm flying off the seat of my pants and you get me talking about something I'm passionate about. Then you'll hear the Jersey come out. But my accent went away. I love that we have two, Nona Grace, very much so. I'm glad to have you as my friend. Um, Also, oh, physical thing, totally weird. So I had pin straight hair all my life. I got saved, and all of a sudden my hair got curly. What is that? Curly, like curly. I cut my hair, and my hair went whoop, curly. That was weird, and very much wanted because I hated straight hair. I had always had very, very straight hair, but then just started curling. I thought that was pretty funny. Now, is that a spiritually, ascertained gift? Maybe not, but it was still a change that I experienced when I got born again. You just stop being the person that you used to be and you change everything in your life to suit who you want to be. That's what it is to be born again. I don't smoke anymore. God help me smoke cigarettes. Stop smoking cigarettes. I don't really drink alcohol at all anymore. Um, I don't. Uh, I don't cuss. It's not one of my regular languages to use. I'm not as angry as I used to be. I'm much more compassionate than I used to be. I'm much more loving than I used to be. I love people so much more than I ever used to. I I used to hate reading anything. Hate reading. Was never good in school. Hated school. Here I am. I'm an artist. Everybody knows that I'm an artist. I'm what people would call, I guess, a multimedia artist. And I failed every year in art class. Failed it miserably. Not even a good fail. Bad fail. And it was all because I didn't like being told what to do. I was very, very willful, very stubborn. So, Jersey girl. And it's amazing how God can change you. It's quite invigorating to realize how far I've come as a Christian. And my family doesn't even recognize me. I've lost two of my children because of it. They just won't talk to me, completely gone. I have four children of my own that I've birthed, and two of them won't speak to me. It's either because of my political stand, whereas voting for Donald Trump, or it could be because I've never gotten it either. I guess because I'm me. Really, they're offended by God in me, and they're offended by me because I won't go like Nona Grace had said about not going by the beat of just one drummer, because I've never done that. I've always been one that is not scared to stand up and stand firm, ever. I had straight hair and played with bobby pins, and my hair came in curly. Then the last 2 years, my hair is once again straight. Oh, booger! I haven't either. Wow. You have a lot in common, Nota Grace. That's awesome. I'm so glad that we could be friends. Friends are hard to come by in this world. But isn't it exciting when you find one? It's comforting. I think the world wants us all to feel very alone right now, very isolated. It's another good opportunity to be able to use this social media platform to unify others and not, divide. Just be just be pleasant. We're just pleasant people. We are pleasant people that want to work very hard. I'm a worker. I've always worked really hard. And I love work. I've always loved work. I recently, Nona Grace, you might like this idea. So my girlfriend Amy and I kind of played with the idea of taking a ceramics class, and then we realized that they were kind of hard to find. Hello, Gulliver. And also because you have to, I guess, to do earthen clay, you have to have an oven that gets to 1,000 degrees, and that's called a kiln. I know that is bad. Isolation is very bad for our health, our mental health especially. And then people are stuck indoors in these shut-ins, and they're not getting vitamin D, and that only leads to depression. So a kiln gets to 1,000 degrees, and that's where it's necessary to do earthen clay that can be used to drink and eat, like pottery. So these clay classes are very hard to come by in our local area. And in fact, I don't even think that they're very common. What you doing? What you doing? What you doing? He's talking back because he's telling me it's time to do the horses, but it's not quite time. It's not time yet, Abby. Hey, Abby, it's not time yet. You'll hear her little fingernails tapping against the floor. At 3 o'clock, I have to go. Anyway, ceramic classes. So then I asked my neighbor, Angie, if she wanted to come with us. So now we've got a three group to go sometime, but they're very, very rare right now because of the plague, but we're going to do it. But I had this idea, and I asked my husband about it. And he seemed rather receptive to it, about us buying a kiln, a used kiln, and then holding pottery classes in our home for homeschool kids and homeschool parents, because our we never even touched how evil the school system has become, trying to fill our children's minds with such evil, heinous ideas. So homeschool families have now really started to be on the rebound again. And I thought I could be an art teacher for the homeschoolers. Wouldn't that be an awesome idea? And I could still make income. So I think that's still on the board. I mean, that could happen. I'm kind of excited. In fact, I'm very excited about that. To have my own kiln and be able to invite homeschool families into my home and hold ceramics classes at my house. That'd be amazing. Yes, it is. It's a great way to share. Yes, 100%. So I was really excited. That was just today's idea. I think it's completely doable too, because we have so many outbuildings on our farm. And one of them in particular is a nice distance away from our house, a nice distance of equal distance from my mother-in-law's house, so that if we had any kind of, God forbid, a fire, it would not destroy either property. And that would be the grape shed that I would choose to have the classes in. And I thought, thinking more and more about it, and I think even now with you, Nona Grace, I think it's a really great idea. I think I'm going to pursue it. I really do. We need to take our children and shelter them from what's going on in our school systems. And more people are homeschooling their children. And although I was never smart enough, education-wise, to homeschool my children, or patient enough, I would love to be a part of that pendulum shift in the other direction, and parents taking control of their children's education again. I would love to take part in that. And I would be a born-again Christian, so they wouldn't have to worry about me being a bad person exposed to their children. Seems like a win-win, right? And then having all these animals all around, it would be such a beautiful place for the kids to come. And all because God brought me all the way through those terrible, terrible life experiences. He's equipped me to be even a more encouraging born-again Christian than perhaps someone who would not be guilty of so many sins. That's what makes us effective in his kingdom here on earth. Yeah, I like that idea. Oh, Nona Grace, I'm in Illinois, central Illinois. So we are about 40 minutes away, 45 minutes east of St. Louis. So, and we are, thank God, 2.5 hours, 3 hours away from Chicago. So we're in the red part of Illinois. I know no one thinks of Illinois as red at all, but if they only knew the portions of Illinois that are red and conservative, they'd come to understand this state in a totally different way. I have a blessed life, and I want to share my blessed life with you all. I know that there's times now when I have to get going, and I do have to now get going because I need to do my chores and do my horses. And I knew I said it'd come on at 7 o'clock, but I had to figure out OBS, and I just figured, well, I'm just getting on, so that's what I'm gonna do. And if they want to watch it at 7 p.m., they sure can. I'm grateful that you're here, Nona Grace. It was nice to talk to you. I feel like we had some sort of private conversation that everybody has privy to understand and get to know us together. So I like that. That was super fun. Thank you so much for being here. Again, that was Nona Grace from Western New York. And this is Tracy Lustig from Central Illinois. Maybe I should start saying this. Okay. Born again farm girl. And I'm from Central Illinois. Does that have the same ring to it? I'm not sure. But anywho. Okay, I'm going to have to shut it down for right now. I'm so glad you could be here and watch my channel. Please, would you consider subscribing and sharing my channel? There's got to be more of us out there that needs encouragement and needs to be a part of a community here on this platform where they won't have to be afraid if their children walk in the room or not. We need to have more pure content in this world, and I really want to do that. I want to help do that. Okay, well, I'm praying for each and every one of you. Remember to pray for everyone, regardless if you know them or not. Just pray. Spend time with God today. And I'm going to go out to my animals now, and I want to give you all my love, and I want to just invite you back again. Again, subscribe, like this video, and share it, please, because we need to make sure that others like us do not feel alone, because they're not. We're just not quite as obnoxious and loud as the other side is. But maybe it's time that changes, because I'm about as obnoxious and loud as they come. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm so glad you could be here with me, and stay tuned because we have a lot more to share in the future. I'll see you later. Have a great day. Bye-bye.